Hi, Doug Smith here. And one of the questions that we get most often is, how do I go about buying a house? I have no idea where to start. Well, you're in luck. That's why we're shooting this video, is we want to share with you exactly how the process should look. Now, keep in mind this would be generally the same process anywhere in the country, but we're going to be shooting primarily this video in a Florida specific manner. So if you're outside of Florida, there might be some changes. But always talk to your real estate agent. Now, we own our own real estate arm as well, but if you are working with another agent, please keep in mind this is not a solicitation to steal you away from that agent. By all means, call them and have a conversation with them. But this is meant to be kind of an overview. Now, we're going to have to shoot this in several videos because there's so much information to gather and to garner. But if you are another agent, or you are a title company or some lender or somebody else in the real estate business, feel free to share this video with your clients. Hopefully it'll help them to kind of explain the overview of the process. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. I'm real estate and financial expert Doug Smith, and over my 27-year career, I've helped thousands of people realize their dream of home ownership. The process can be one of the most stressful things that you'll ever do in your life. That's why I decided to prepare a series of videos that consumers could view in the privacy of their own home to prepare themselves for the home buying process. In this first video, we'll do an overview of the entire process. Now, there is no way that we could fit everything into only one video, so we'll follow this video up with other videos that will drill down on more specific details on important topics. That's why it's important to click subscribe at the bottom of the video. I'll continually be putting out content that will help you not only understand the home buying process, but finance in general. By the time you finish watching the videos, you'll be an informed buyer. Without further ado, let's get started. Did you ever see the movie My Cousin Vinny, where Marissa Tomei's character talks about the cute little deer that is getting a drink of water at the brook, and then when out of nowhere, wham, a hunter shoots it? That's how it feels when you're out looking for houses and then wham, you find out that there's something you didn't know about in your credit report, or you aren't fully qualified to buy the house you want. Before you even think about looking at homes, you need to get your financial house in order. How much house can I afford? How do you get a loan? All of these are important questions. Let's take a look at some of the things that you need to think about when you're getting your financial house in order. Your credit rating is one of the most important determining factors surrounding your ability to purchase a home. We see it all the time. Something shows up on a credit report that the customer doesn't expect. Do you know what your credit scores are? There are three major credit reporting agencies that most of the financial institutions pull credit reports from in order to determine your likelihood to pay the loan back: TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. Usually, a lender will either average the scores together or use the middle score in order to determine what your creditworthiness looks like. Scores below 560 are considered very poor, and you are unlikely to qualify for conventional financing. Scores between 560 and 660 are considered fair, and financing will be a struggle for you. Scores between 660 and 725 are considered good, with 680 or 700 being somewhat magical numbers for obtaining a mortgage. Above 725 is very good, and 760 means you basically walk on water. Now, different lenders have very different criteria, so you'll need to discuss the criteria with your lender early on in the process. Now, how do you learn about your credit score? You're actually entitled to one free copy of your credit report every 12 months from each of the three nationwide credit reporting companies. Now, order yours online at annualcreditreport.com. That's the only authorized website for free credit reports, and we have nothing to do with them, by the way. Or you can call 1-877-322-8228. That's 877-322-8228. Now, you'll need to provide your name, address, social security number, date of birth to verify your identity. If something shows up in your credit report that's incorrect, it's going to take 3 or 4 months at least to fix it. You'll need to check your credit long before you start looking for a home. Believe it or not, most people that call our real estate business have no idea how much money they want to put into a home purchase. Some walk in with nothing. Now, there are certain loans like VA financing where that's workable, but you really need to understand what you're going to need to save in order to buy a home. We usually tell customers that they will end up paying somewhere between 3% and 4% in closing costs alone when buying a home. Now, that is a very conservative figure, and sometimes we're able to negotiate into a contract where the seller pays most, if not all, of the closing costs. But you're going to want to be prepared. Depending upon the loan program, you'll also want to set aside anywhere from 3% to even 20% of the purchase price for your down payment. Also, Don't forget about the deposits on utilities, buying household items like drapes, furniture, and lawnmowers. All that stuff can quickly add up, and I highly recommend sitting down with a trusted financial pro to get an idea of what you need to save long before you start looking. Not all of the pros that you work with in the process will have equal amounts of experience. A recent study showed that 1/3 of all realtors have less than 2 years in the field. All lenders aren't the same either. It's hard to know who's going to be right for you. Working with a good real estate agent isn't only important, but it usually costs the buyer nothing to do. That's right, the seller usually pays for that. Now, buyer's agents are normally paid a portion of the pool of funds offered by the seller as a fee, so you might as well use a really good agent to find your new home. Now, don't just call your friend's niece that just got their real estate license or your brother-in-law that works at the local bank for help. Get real references from people you trust. All real estate agents and lenders aren't created equal. Ask people you trust that have recently purchased a home who they used and how their experience was with those professionals. Was the pro responsive to them? Did they call them back? Did they explain things in easily understandable language without being condescending to you? Did they have the necessary experience for the job? When something expected popped up, did they call them right away, deliver the bad news, and offer solutions, or did they go MIA? Getting the right agents and lending professionals are critical to making the process a smooth one. Now, many customers will try to buy a house on their own thinking that they'll get a much better deal that way. That is normally a massive mistake. Unless the buyer really knows how to update the contracts and the process, you're usually in for a nightmare. Also, if the sellers or their agents are savvy, you're probably going to get fleeced and be at a negotiating disadvantage. Now, studies have shown that a good agent can save you money and help you avoid costly mistakes. In most instances, the seller covers the costs, as I said earlier, of the agent anyway, so you may as well get the best. Now, I can't tell you how many times I've heard of people looking for that perfect house only to find out that they couldn't afford it once they found it. That could be absolutely soul-crushing. Getting pre-approved is one of the first steps you should take long before you even start looking. Now, we see it happen time and time again. People decide to buy a new home, and in their excitement, they log in and start pulling up homes. Ask trusted friends and advisors who they used, and really ask questions to make sure that the lender is competent and responsive. That's the key. They should be very responsive and available to you. You're usually going to want your monthly payments to stay within 25% and 28% maximum of your total monthly gross income. You're also going to want to keep your total monthly obligations, including your new mortgage payment, taxes, insurance, private mortgage payment, insurance, HOA fees, car payments, student loan payments, credit card debt payments, etc., at no more than about 40% of your income. Maximum 45%. A good lender can guide you more when you contact them, but this will give you a good place to start. Don't forget, once you buy a home, you all of a sudden are going to find yourself running back and forth to the hardware store for paint, drapes, landscaping items, and all the stuff that it takes to make a house a home. You're going to have to change the locks, put deposits down for utilities, buy furniture, and all of the little things that you really didn't think about when you first decided to buy a home. Keep that in mind before you buy. Also, you'll want a few months' worth of your payments and savings as a buffer to help if something unexpected happens. Don't be house rich and cash poor. It's not just going to be the down payment and closing costs that you're going to want to put aside before you buy a home. Now, what happens if you do the math and you don't have enough cash right now to buy comfortably, or you have things on your credit report that require some attention? You're better off sucking it up and renting for a while longer. There's nothing worse than getting stuck in a house that you can't afford. I know you want to find a home, but be realistic and live to fight another day. I guarantee you that there will be homes in a few months that you will absolutely love. So take your time and prepare. You're going to be glad you did. We have a lot more to cover, but is this making sense so far to you? If so, do me a favor and type "Got it, Doug" in the comments section below. This lets me know that I'm giving you valuable information that you need. On another note, be sure to type your questions in the comments as we go through this, because I personally log on and answer the questions, so please do that. Now, when they get the hankering to buy a house, most people log on to Zillow or Realtor.com and start searching. We've already learned that this is not the first step, but let's spend some time going over how to go about finding that perfect new home. The first thing that a good agent does with a customer is to listen to what they need in a property. You should really sit down and make a list of what the must-haves are in your home, like how many bedrooms, bathrooms, price, school district, proximity to work or church, the style of the home, etc. There are tons of things that you need to think about. So how do you prioritize those items? What are the wants and what are the must-haves? Once you've determined this, your real estate agent can use the actual MLS itself to do the basic search. You'll identify the properties that meet your needs, and then your agent will get you in to see them. Now, unlike HGTV does, you don't only have to look at just 3 properties and then make a decision. Most of the clients that we've worked with look at 20, even more properties before making a decision. Very few look at less than 5 properties, and some look at a heck of a lot more than we could ever count. Now, once you've decided on a property, it's time to make the offer. Making an offer is much more than just pricing the property. The type of financing makes a big difference. How much of a deposit are you going to put down? When do you wish to close? How long are the inspection periods? Are you asking for any closing costs from the seller? These are all factors that the seller will have to consider. You will probably not be the only bidder on that property. Expect the seller to make a counter offer to your initial offer. It's rare that a seller jumps on the first offer. Don't take it personally, it's all part of the process, so be prepared for it. Now, once the seller counters your offer, your old offer becomes null and void. I mean, that's business law 101 that I learned my freshman year of college. So they can't come back later and try to hold you to your initial offer. So before making your initial offer, be sure to discuss negotiation strategy with your agent. It will be important to get you the deal that you deserve. Each state will have different contracts that are customarily used depending upon the type of sale that is being completed. In another video, we'll go through the most commonly used Florida-specific contracts and commonly used supporting schedules. Get with your real estate agent to discuss those contracts that are commonly used in your area. Now, once you have an executed contract, there are a few items that you should be prepared for. Be sure to discuss this stuff with your agent, but here are a few items that you need to be thinking of. The earnest money deposit is an amount that you put down at the time of contract in order to show the seller that you're serious about buying the property. This deposit is held in a separate escrow account either by the licensed closing agent or the real estate agent's brokerage, and it's still your money. It goes towards the purchase of your home. It does, however, pass to the seller if you back out of the deal improperly. Usually, if you back out of the contract for legitimate reasons during certain windows, like if the inspection report comes back showing issues with the home, or you're turned down for your loan financing during the financing contingency period, you will get your money back. Sometimes, people simply walk away from the table for silly reasons, or outside of those certain windows. In that case, the money would usually go over to the seller. Usually the deposit is anywhere from $2,000 to $10,000, but it's a negotiated amount that will vary from transaction to transaction. So call your real estate agent, talk to them a lot about the specifics behind earnest money deposits in your area. Normally, a good real estate agent will build in a period of time to allow you to get a licensed third-party home inspector to inspect the property. Usually, the inspection period is anywhere from 10 days to 15 days after you enter into the contract, but that too can change from transaction to transaction. It's a negotiated period of time at the time of the contract. Usually, the real estate agent has relationships with inspectors and will arrange for the inspection for you. You usually will pay the real estate inspector directly right at the time of contract. Those inspection costs vary from property to property, but they usually range anywhere from $300 to $500. Be prepared because the inspectors usually pick the property apart and find all kinds of little things to be corrected prior to closing. Now that's normal. A good agent can either negotiate to have items fixed prior to the closing or have the price reduced to allow you to make the repairs yourself. The seller is usually under no obligation to correct the items discovered during the inspection, but you can back out of the contract within the inspection period and get your deposit back under most circumstances. The cost of the inspection is well worth it. You certainly don't want to find out that there's a major issue with your home that you didn't know about once you buy it. Definitely don't skip the inspection to save money. Surveys are usually required by the title insurance companies prior to closing. Although there are many types of surveys, the survey usually helps determine the land boundaries of a property, building and fence locations, easements, and it shows that nothing is encroaching on your property. Elevation certificates are also often obtained through the survey process. Now, these show the elevation above sea level of the property and are used by your insurance company to determine the cost of insurance, including flood insurance if necessary. Now, usually your real estate agent or the closing agent will ask the seller for a previous copy of the survey, and if they can provide it, they will often accept that, providing nothing has changed on the property like a new fence, building, or pool. Surveys usually cost somewhere between $350 and $500 and are not required in every transaction, but definitely be prepared for it. Now, unless you're paying cash for a property, your lender will require an appraisal in order to complete the processing of the loan. We'll cover this more in our video, How to Determine the Value of Your Home, but know that this is usually a requirement that you cannot get around. Furthermore, the lender is now required by law to get the appraisal from an independent third-party vendor. They can no longer pick or have contact with the appraiser. We always request that the appraisal not be ordered until the inspection report is back and you're satisfied that there's no really bad issues with the property. But you would usually have to pay the appraisal company around $350 to $450 prior to the appraisal being performed. More often than not, unexpected things pop up during the process that requires the agent to renegotiate certain parts of the sale. Sometimes the appraisal comes in low, requiring the real estate agent to negotiate the purchase price down. Sometimes there's even issues with the title that pops up. I want you to expect the unexpected. Something unexpected usually does come up that requires renegotiation, so don't be surprised. It's a normal part of the process and just another reason that you need to pick an experienced, savvy real estate agent that really knows the ropes. Now, just prior to close, you should receive a copy of the closing statement from the title company for your review. This is the document that shows all of your fees and costs as well as those for the seller. It shows how certain things like taxes and HOA fees are prorated, and it breaks down how much you ultimately have to bring to the closing table. This is probably going to look like Egyptian hieroglyphics to you when you first look at it. I want you to watch our video, How to Read a Closing Statement, on our channel. It walks you through line by line through a real live closing statement from a real closing in the second quarter of 2018. We often catch errors in the first draft of the closing statement, so reading it is very, very important. I usually tell clients that the closing package was prepared by the Department of Redundancy Department. If you are financing the purchase of your home, you'll end up with writer's cramp by the time you're finished signing, and many of the closing documents will seem similar to the ones that you've already signed. A good agent will walk you through each of these documents. As of the making of this video, we have not yet put together a script for a video on the closing documents, but the topic is one that's on our radar, so stay tuned to our channel for how to understand closing documents. That's one that I want to make sooner rather than later. Now, once you've reviewed the closing statement and agreed that everything looks correct, the closing agent will ask you to go to your bank and wire transfer the remainder of the money that you need for closing to them. Now, keep in mind, you're going to need to probably wire in this day and age. Cashier's checks or personal checks usually are not acceptable by closing agents anymore. They're usually going to want you to wire it the morning of or the night before the closing. Be sure to call your real estate agent and the title company to ensure that you're sending the money to the proper place, because wire fraud and crooks have really started to run rampant on this stuff, trying to convince you to wire things to places that they don't belong. So talk to your agent, talk to the title company to make sure you're sending it to the right place. Congratulations, you're a new homeowner. Most people think that they can breathe a sigh of relief, but now you have to change the locks, organize the movers, paint, buy a lawnmower, and all those fun things that come with home ownership. There are a few items that I want to touch on that you'll need to think about after you close on your new home. In our video, How to Buy a Home After the Closing, we'll talk in great detail about how to file for homestead exemption in the state of Florida. Now, even if you aren't in Florida, most jurisdictions will give you a tax break for the home that is your primary residence, also known as your homestead. Sometimes your closing agent will file this for you, but often, however, it's up to you. Be sure to ask your closing agent or your real estate agent about how to file for homestead, and definitely watch the video after the closing on our channel. Now, during the home buying process, it's always a good idea to have your real estate agent request a list of utility companies that service your new home. Just prior to closing, you're going to want to reach out to your electric company, gas company, water, trash, and sewer providers, internet providers, cable TV providers, and all of the services right away for your new home. It would stink to not have hot water once you move in, but it's something that people often forget about. Now, you've planned for your down payment, closing costs, appraisal fee, inspection fee, and other items that come with the closing. But have you budgeted for those items that pop up for later? How about a lawnmower and a weed eater? How about drapes, furniture, dishes, paint, and all of the other items that you're going to need for your new home? Don't forget to budget for these items, because they're going to add up quickly. Now, once you buy your home, the deed filing becomes public record. You will be absolutely bombarded by solicitors to get you to do everything from buy home warranties to buy insurance. Now, many of these offerings are legitimate, but some are scams. For instance, in Florida, there's a letter that will arrive at the new homeowner's house shortly after they buy the home, telling them that they need to send in money like $85-90 to get a certified copy of the deed. Now, it's going to look very official. It's going to come from the state of, or it's going to come from Tallahassee with an official looking seal. It's not illegal, but it's a private company that wants you to send them money so that they can simply download a copy of your deed from the internet that you could, of course, do for yourself and mail it to you. The closing agent is going to send you the deed once it's filed anyway. So if you receive anything in the mail or a call that you're unsure of, call your real estate agent right away and run it by them. There's a good chance that it will be someone trying to fleece you. Wow, that was a lot of information. There is so much to know about the home buying process that it is impossible to fit into one video. Now, we've shot several videos in this channel that will drill down into more detail much of this information, so be sure to watch it. Now, if you have any questions on any of this material, please leave them in the comments below. Now, I'm going to try to follow up with all of them right away. And we've worked very, very hard on this video, and we'd appreciate it if you would give us a thumbs up and definitely subscribe to the channel. Now, this is huge. Throughout my entire career, most of the people that I've helped came to me through someone else that I had helped previously. If you found this to be of value, please think of someone else that you feel could use this help and share it with them. I want to help. This is why I do this. It's a giant brain dump for me before I get too old to remember all this stuff. Also, be sure to follow me on Instagram, Doug on Money, and also at my website, douglassmith.com. That's 2 S's in Douglas, DouglassSmith.com. I want to keep in touch with you. We'll be putting out regular videos surrounding personal finance, and we want you to know right away when a new video is available. If you have any subject that you'd like to see me cover, please let me know. Thanks so much for watching this video. Be sure to click on and watch our other videos for more information. Bye-bye.